Sensei Lane often talks when he makes the presentation of the black belts of how many people come into the martial arts and how many of those end up getting to the black belt. This room is full of people that are a legacy to these two men. Think of how many people have come through the doors and touched by these two. I'm honored to be involved today. I know most of you are as well. That's why you're here. Not only for the grading today, but to honor them and this achievement, long overdue. But before we make the presentation, we want to have a few people speak on their behalf.
Hi everyone, I'm Sensei Kristen from the YMCA. I think if you have two men who've been in the martial arts as long as these two have, they obviously share some qualities: dedication, commitment, a passion for the martial arts. So we know they both have that. The very first time I met Kiyoshi Liu, I met him from peering in from the hall, terrified to come on the floor and take a karate class. I could maybe do 5 jumping jacks. I couldn't pull off 1 push-up to save my life, and I was terrified to jump into this, and caught sight of him in the room, and he welcomed me into the program. Within 5 to 10 minutes, I felt like I was at home. I felt like I could do this. I believed in myself more, and literally 5 to 10 minutes. My friend bailed before she even got close enough to see Kiyoshi Liu, but it was enough to keep me there, and now most people know now I run the YMCA program thanks to all the hard work that Kiyoshi Liu put into me. It's not just me, it's everybody he comes in contact with. It's not just YMCA students, which I find the same as HIGHLAND Lane, that anybody could come and ask these guys a question and they're happy to pass on their knowledge, their expertise, give you a push of motivation in the right direction. I think that's the thing that they give to us and motivate us to carry on. And I can't think of a greater testament to them in this field than that. That our dream, I know everybody who came out to support them from our club, that's what we took away from them, is the desire to pass on what we know to other people. And the fact that we're here and have that commitment could only come from someone passing it on to us. Any day I call Kiyoshi Liu, he's there to answer my questions. It doesn't have to be karate related, but his passion for us as students and to see us grow is the biggest lesson we've taken from them. Sure, the katas and this and that and the martial arts, but the respect for ourselves and the commitment to pass on that information is unbelievable. And I mean, I see Kiyoshi Liu at tournaments talking to people he doesn't even know, who passing on a bit of advice here and there. He's happy to give it to anyone, and I think that's the thing with martial arts, just to keep it going and keep people learning and growing in this field. I couldn't have had a better instructor. He grew that YMCA program to be in 4 locations, hundreds and thousands of students, and more than happily let me take those reins and trusted me to give to those students what he has spent his life giving to those students. And I would never have been able to do that without him as my instructor. So I just want to say thank you to you, Kiyoshi Liu, for everything you've done for all of us and martial arts as a whole, because we couldn't have done it without you. I don't think I could have done it under anybody else. So it's you that brought me to this place. And I want to say congratulations to you as well, Sensei Barry, because we get a great amount of information from you, and we're very grateful for the time that you're willing to give to the YMCA as well. So thank you both of you, and I think I'll leave it at that.
Grateful for this opportunity to participate in this. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning in a sweat, not that I sweat all the time, wondering what I was going to say. And then I went back to sleep, and next morning when I wake up, my wife says, I don't know what you dreamed about last night, but you sure were talking a lot. So I wish she had recorded it. It would have been pretty good. But anyhow, what I want to do is I want to give a little profile of Sensei Lane. And what's interesting, as I came in and talked with him, he added story upon story upon story. This is just a little bit of what he's done. HIGHLAND Lane is 46 years of accumulated experience in martial arts. He holds black belt degrees in other styles of karate and weaponry. He graduated to his black belt after 2 years of rigorous training Chimaru system, and also the same year a black belt in the Wado group organization. Shan Lane was active both in karate tournament competition, kickboxing, and was also a member of the 1974 and 75 Wado Kai lightweight championship team. Should I let the years out of that? Okay.
70.
And I know he has a remarkable record in his sparring. When I was looking for a club, I used to train in Toronto, and I moved down here and I was looking for a club. I went around to many different clubs. I went in, had the free lesson, but I never once stepped foot in this club. But I drive around and I look in the window and I see all these black belts and see how they're working out and how interesting it was. And I remember telling my wife, after going to all these without stepping a foot in the club, is that's the club I want to go to. You know, just being drawn in from looking out in the window, seeing how hard they work, and it drew me to this club. And ever since I've been here, I've really enjoyed my time, and I could say amen to what you said about your instructor, Sensei Lane. Is you know, he's on the floor, he'll work you hard. On the floor, he's your instructor. Off the floor, he's a friend. And one thing I've noticed that I really admire about him is everybody's different. Everybody has different talents, abilities, different levels of understanding, different levels of taking things in. And Sensei Lane, in my opinion, he is able to sift that out and be able to teach you in the best manner that applies to myself and others, I believe. He might be a little harder on somebody and lighten up on somebody else, but he always has this ability through his personality, and it always seems like he can always help that person out with what he perceives. And that's one thing I admire about Sensei Lane. You know, when I have the kids in here, the first thing I ask them is, why do we bow when we come on the floor? And we get different answers. I say the reason we bow is to pay respect to these three instructors for the time and effort that they poured into their abilities and talents to pass it on to us. All this experience that Sensei Lane's had of being on the world team, of being a coach, and of his fighting experience is really passed on. It's passed on to his students. And I'd just like to say thank you very much.
When I first met Kiyoshi Liu, we were in the basement at the YMCA in Burlington, and I see this poor guy up at the front with about 30 or 40 kids in a group that was smaller than this. And I had already had my Shodan from another style, so I asked him, I said, "You want some help?" He said, "Sure, get your shoes off." And we've been together ever since. And one of the great things I've loved about Sensei Liu is that taught good, solid techniques with kindness. And you can be kind and you can be firm and you can get the point across. And every single bunkai for every kata that I've ever learned is all applicable. It works, it does the job. If you understand the bunkai, and from Kiyoshi Liu, the way he taught it to us, that you understand what you're doing in terms of katas, you understand what you're doing in terms of sparring, and you can pass that on to other students. And that's the whole thing, is that we pass this knowledge on down to our students. So I want to thank you for the time I've spent with you. Barry, the years I've met you as well. I see the same characteristics in both these gentlemen, that they're kind but firm, and they pass their passion and knowledge on to all of us. That's really true.
When Sensei Lane asked if I'd give a speech, an enormous amount of stories came to mind. I asked immediately, "Can I roast you?" To which he replied, "No, don't you dare, this is serious." At that point I was worried that I wouldn't be left with much material. But the reason is that the last 20 years at Highland Karate has been full of laughter. I think I should just go with the roast. People ask me all the time about being in karate. They find it fascinating.
And after answering questions about what rank I am and if I can beat them up, I'm almost always asked about what club I go to. To which I respond, Highland Karate in Dundas. To which they respond, oh, I've never heard of it. There's a reason for that, I answer. Sensei Lane is not an owner who spends his time marketing his business. He's not always in search of where to make his next dollar. In fact, as a former club manager, I've been present at several occasions where Sensei Lane has sacrificed money to give students a break on their contract when times were tough, or find ways to exchange work to pay off their memberships. He doesn't sell his business. He's not out promoting himself because he doesn't have time. And the reason for that is he's in his business, teaching good traditional karate. Highland Karate is not really a business. It's an extended family. I'm often asked why I travel from Binbrook to Dundas every week. Why don't I just switch to a club that's closer by? That would be convenient. But anyone in a traditional martial arts family understands that when your knowledge and skill is gained from an instructor, you owe a debt of gratitude to that teacher, and you don't leave the one who taught you everything you know. That instructor may one day have helped you win a world championship, may bring you enough confidence and self-esteem to leave a bad relationship, give you a glowing recommendation letter for your first job, help you stand up to a bully for a friend, or help save your life on the street. I once heard a martial arts philosophy that a teacher passes down all they know to their students in hopes to make them great. Those students take as much as they can learn and remember and pass it down to their students, and so on. Unfortunately, since each individual has their own strengths and interests, each time information and technique is passed down, some experience, expertise, and knowledge is lost, because not everything can possibly be remembered. Sensei Lane not only has devoted his time to teaching his black belts all he knows, but he constantly is in search of new information to pass on. Not only that, he hasn't slowed down and he's still very active, teaching each class level and heavily involved in our competition team, taking competitors from Highland all over the world in championships for over 15 years, and still counting. So the knowledge that would be lost had he left it to his black belts to pass down is all still being passed down from him to yet another generation. Yes, I could attend a club that's closer to my house, and that's famous all over the city because of its great marketing and promotion with signs and inflatables, fundraisers, and wrapped vehicles. But personally, I'd rather know that in a tournament, or what's more, on the street when I need it, that I have learned real valuable karate skills thanks to Sensei Lane and Highland Karate and its orientation towards producing quality students. I'd rather take the long road home and know that I am continuing a long, respectful tradition of passing on to my students at Highland the skills and abilities I learned from Barry Lane. There are a lot of people that have never heard of this club. Thanks to that, and the effort that Sensei Lane puts into his students, rather than his media releases, I can kick ass. In the karate world at tournaments, when someone asks me what club I attend and I respond Highland Karate, they all know where I come from. Because Sensei Lane is capable of producing the most confident and well-skilled fighters in Ontario, even in the world. It's been proven time and again. I'm Highland Karate's longest-standing new member that started as a white belt with the grand opening of the club in 1990. I began as a kid at Highland with no prior martial arts experience, and I still stand here over 20 years later. 20 years ago, so many clubs pride themselves on being traditional. Over the years, many of those clubs sold out to the hype of sport karate, UFC, uniforms with sequins, tonfas that glow in the dark. Clubs sold out to grading students before their due time just to keep kids interested, and having parents sign long, irresponsible one-year contracts for their 5-year-olds to ensure their club a paycheck. But through it all, Highland comes out on top, still as traditional today as 20 years ago, with accomplished students, pleased parents, and short-term contracts to ensure always that the students enjoy their art and the instructors work hard and be inventive to keep students' interest. Barry Lane is a man of tradition, philosophy, and a man of his word. Usually by the time a black belt reaches an 8th degree level, they are really old, with aching bones, and are no longer able to perform. I can firmly and positively tell you that to this day I would not want to be on the receiving end of one of Sensei Lane's spinning back kicks. Yes, he's still pretty old. And I definitely heard him complain about aching bones. But I can promise you that this man can still perform. He certainly has nothing left to prove today. Though in 20 years I've practically drowned listening to the same one-liners over and over about how he's going to wet my lips and stick me to a wall, or how his grandmother can yell louder than me. It has truly been a privilege to belong to this family with Sensei Lane as my martial arts father. Over the years, he's been like a second dad to me. He's always wanted the best for me, as he does for all his martial arts children. And although my belt doesn't actually read Sensei Lane is the best guy in the world, it probably should.